Shalom, I'm Rabbi Stephen Sachs. What was Aharon's sin? Hukat 5780. There's a lot of discussion, debate, as to what exactly Moshe and Aharon did wrong at Mei Merivah, the waters of controversy. This is the incident where the people started fetching, whining again because there was no water. They were afraid. And Moshe became angry and hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock. But the question is, what was the real sin that Moshe and Aharon committed? After all, because of the sin, whatever it was, they were barred from entering Eretz Yisrael. Well, Rashi explains the sin was that Moshe struck the rock instead of speaking to the rock. God said, speak to the rock and bring forth water, and Moshe struck the rock instead. The Rambam says, no, that wasn't the real sin. Okay, of course, he should have listened to God and followed the directions carefully. But the real sin was Moshe screamed out, Shmuna Hamorim, listen, O you rebellious people, shall we bring forth water. In other words, the Rambam is saying the real sin was Moshe admonished the people. If you read the text carefully, we never see that God is angry with the people for fetching that there's no water. He understands they're in the desert, there's no water. It's scary. They think they're going to die. They think their children are going to die. Okay, so they overreacted. But when Moshe admonished the people, he gave the people the false impression that God was angry with them. God wasn't angry with them. What he's really saying to Moshe is, even you, Moshe Rabbeinu, cannot mistreat my people. Rabbi Hananel and the Ramban say that the real sin was Moshe declared, Nosei lechem mayim, shall we bring forth water? Of course, it wasn't Moshe and Aaron who were really bringing forth the water. It was God. So all of these explanations are nice, fascinating. There's one simple problem. Moshe is the culprit. He's the one who hit the rock, who called the people rebellious and said, shall we bring forth water? Aharon or Aaron never committed any of these offenses. If you're Aharon's defense attorney, you're going to say, okay, all these events happened, but my client never committed them. So what did Aharon do wrong? Why was he too barred from entering Eretz Yisrael? Let's remember that Aharon is our Rodef Shalom. He's our pursuer of peace. Anytime there's a conflict, anytime people are getting angry, he's always there to cool the temperature. In this case, he missed his cue. There was his younger brother Moshe losing it. The people were driving him crazy again. They had just lost their big sister, and as Moshe's face is undoubtedly turning red and he's ready to come down and smash the rock, that's where Aharon should have stepped in as the Rodef Shalom, the pursuer of peace, and said, Moshe, calm down. But Aharon, as we said, missed the cue and refused to do so, or failed to do so. Let's remember, one of the first questions in the Torah is, Hashomer Achi Anochi, am I my brother's keeper? Of course, the answer is yes. And in this case, Aharon failed to be his brother's keeper and give him the assistance he needed. Now, if you're Aharon's defense attorney, you still say, okay, he failed to act, but he really never committed an actual sin. His sin at best was a sin of omission. What's the most common way of saying sin in Hebrew? Aveira, which comes from the Hebrew word avar, to pass over. In other words, a sin can be defined as missing the opportunity to do something positive. In this case, Aharon missed the opportunity to calm Moshe down before Moshe did some real damage. The Talmud explains that if you're walking by at the beach and you see somebody drowning in the ocean, you're not allowed to walk by and say, oh, not my problem, let somebody else deal with it. No, you have to either go in to help them or get somebody else to try to help them. So in this case, Moshe was drowning in a sea of his own anger, and Aharon failed to go in after him to try to save him. The message here is, when you see somebody in trouble, you have to act. There's a great example in the Talmud of somebody who did understand this. It actually is based on last week's Parsha. Last week's Parsha we talk about Korach and his rebellion. And Korach has followers. He teams up with Datan and Aviram from the tribe of Reuben, who join him in the revolt. And there's another man, On ben Pelet. But when Korach, Datan and Aviram, and the followers are defeated, we are never told that On ben Pelet dies. Korach dies, Datan and Aviram die, the followers of Korach die, but we're never told that On ben Pelet dies. And in the Talmud it explains why. It explains that he went to a meeting with Korach before the revolt, to plan the revolt. And when he came back, his wife, who was unnamed, we'll call her Mrs. Pelet, said to him, "You're going to join with Korach? Why in the world would you join a revolt with Korach? They're going to lose. Moshe and Aharon are God's chosen leaders. You can't follow them. This is a suicide mission." He said, "You have a point there, but I already said to them I'm joining in. I can't disappoint them after all." And she, in an exasperated fashion, said to him, "Look, go have a drink, sit down on the couch, watch Netflix or whatever it is, and I'll take care of it." So On sat down on the couch. He took a nap. And as Korach came to get On to join into the revolt, she approached the door, opened the door, removed her hat, and stood there with her uncovered hair. In the ancient Near East, a woman's uncovered hair, a married woman's uncovered hair, was considered nudity. So Korach, being a righteous guy, God forbid he look at an uncovered woman's hair, ran away. And the rabbis explained that she saved her husband, that if he had followed Korach, he would have been killed. Mrs. Pelet understood Kol Yisrael Arivin Zelazah, that all of Israel is responsible for each other. So when we see family members, friends, and neighbors in trouble, it's in everybody's interest, including our own, to extend a hand and to help. I know this sounds cliche, we've heard it over and over again during this coronavirus pandemic, but it's true. And it's, in the end, we're all in it together. So we might as well be team players.